Greetings and salutations to all you folks. It is time for another one bites the dust. This time it is Scoot's turn to go under the microscope, and the map is going to be Eye of the Storm. Buddy, you picked a doozy to play on because this map is very difficult. Um, it drops, can be effective, expanding quickly is good, early navy is good. There are so many different ways to play this map, and all of them are not very easy. Your opponent is roughly equally ranked to you, though, so you do have a good chance. Lukasovic is the opponent. Both of you are UEF, so it is UEF versus UEF. Strictly a skill test, and we'll just have to see how you do. All right, we're going to get into your perspective and see what your build looks like. Can't decide where you want that move order, can you? Building a second power generator. And it is... Yes, that is adjacent. Okay. Little bit of a rocky start there. But it is comebackable. Alright, I like your move to build these mass extractors from the edge of your range, but there's a lot of downtime on your units. Right now you have an idle ACU and 2 idle engineers that have not been issued a build order or any kind of move order yet. Holy what is that? I have never noticed that before. They say you learn something new every day, and I just learned that there is a little beacon thingy-majigger. I have no idea what that is. It looks like a little totem pole right on the beach. And it is reclaimable for a very large amount of mass. That is nice to know. Alright, good pickup there, bud. I'm sure you got that from a replay somewhere because I would have never guessed that there was that much mass in that little bitty thing. Alright, finally getting an engineer out to the hydro. That is going to help. Going second land, third navy. My opinion would be that earlier air is better on this map due to how much space there is to cover. A bomber out to deny expansions, to attack the base itself and kill off engineer groups. There's so many things you can do with a bomber. Probably, I did not know that this mass was here, so just judging by that mass, I would spawn, throw down land factory, couple P-gens, mass extractor, more P-gens, and try to get air factory online second after 7 power generators. Land factory, mass extractor, and 7 power generators, followed by second air. Somebody in the higher ranks of the 1v1 ladder should probably comment below on a good build order for that, but I would think that with that totem and a little manual reclaim in these rocks around here, you should be able to pull that second air very, very easily and do a good job of expansion. 4 air factories down around this hydro. That seems possibly slightly excessive, but heavy airplay can be done if executed correctly. And we have an extended infinite move order from this factory to send units over to this side. My other comment is that the expansion seems a bit slow. The other thing that you will be able to do with that second air factory is as soon as the hydro is done, or possibly before if you're a little conservative with power in other places and can claim a couple of groups of trees, you should be able to get up a transport with which you can drop, load up 4 or 5 engineers and drop one here, 2 or 3 here to get a base up and claim this side, and then bring it back to base, load up some more engineers, and then drop out here. And at 5 minutes in the game, you could have easily gotten a transport up and already been well on your way to claiming all of one side or the other. And there is a scout. So you know that he has seen you. Alright, here comes the bomber. Really need a scout to follow that up so that it can pass and scout ahead. Because unless you pay really careful attention and you're good with micro, using the built-in radar on a bomber is fairly difficult. Your reaction time has to be insanely good to seeing a blip unless your bomber is basically hovering, which is why people rapid tap move orders directly in front of and underneath the bomber so that it moves forward in little increments and you can see things on the radar and then attack them. Another thing, if you had shot the scout across, you could have seen if the opponent had Navy. If he does, that's fine and dandy, you can deal with it. If he does not, you have a frigate in the water, which means, and he did pull a drop on that island. With that frigate and sub, if he does not have Navy in the water, I would park that sub right here in this bay. Pull a little bit of naval denial. A single sub can easily deal with any engineers that venture out into the water to build a factory, and it is a good, at least, delay tool, because he has to build up enough engineers to get out and build a torpedo defense on the edge of the water to drive your sub away. Ground firing Tech 1 artillery is not going to work because he does not have Seraphim. So there is that would be a really good thing to do, is to push once you have the Navy to go ahead and push in and try to deal with that. And now having some mass problems. Also, this should be a land factory, not an air factory. Going to reclaim that big rock, hopefully help with some of these issues that you're having mass-wise. Alright, going to take a peek at the other player, since as of yet you have not scouted across. There was no reason to stop that air scout right here. That should have flown directly across. Once you've seen the units there, I mean, you target your bombers, you can do everything you need to do in that one pass, and then that scout should shoot over so that you can see his bay, which, judging by the current state of his Navy, I doubt, I'm 100% sure that you could have denied Navy with that sub and frigate. Excuse me, got the sniffles still. Alright, and unit problems over here. There were. That point defense took care of it. Nice little spam headed southwards with your ACU, and you have established a base over on this side. However, he has got the center island, and he has out-teched you by a little bit, and he is in air control. Pro tip, bombers are not very mass effective when you have 0 interceptors to cover them with, and this is incredibly excessive. What I would do is I would set like 2 of these factories to maybe 1 scout, 3 interceptors, 1 to only interceptors, and then 1 to maybe 1 or 2 or 3 interceptors, and then a bomber. So that way you're getting a good mix. In 20 units, you'll have 2 or 3 scouts, 2 bombers, and then the rest will be interceptors. And that is a pretty decently balanced Air Force that should keep you in good shape. Alright, you do have a destroyer out, which is a good thing, but I am assuming you saw the fact that he had no Navy because of the scouts, but you're still standing off. One thing to remember is, when you are versus a UEF opponent, Navy to Navy, you need to go 100% destroyers and frigates. You do not need torpedo units unless your opponent starts spamming nothing but Tech 1 subs. You need destroyers, you need frigates. Honestly, on a map like this, I could honestly see lots of destroyers, because once you got 5 or 6 together in one spot, frigates really couldn't do a good job of overcoming them. But it's basically destroyers and shields. Alright, eco is a problem. Huge problem. That is a horrific stall. And what you need to be doing is you need to stop your air production immediately when that happens. You have 4 air factories sucking down 78 power apiece. That is horrible. Need to get on that immediately as fast as you possibly can, because otherwise it is not going to end well for you. Bombers coming in, but they're going to be easily dealt with by anti-air. That is going to be the end of that. Need to stop the air production, and need to stop this too. T1 power generators are incredibly inefficient mass-wise. When you see this happening, you should have, with this T2 factory, built a Tech 2 engineer and go ahead and build a Tech 2 power generator, especially on this big of a map, because the Tech 2 power generator is going to be fairly difficult for him to snipe off. You can see what he's doing here. 4 destroyers, not even any frigates, and a cruiser for anti-air to deny these bombers. Now, what I said earlier about 100% frigate spam, unless he goes T1 sub spam, applies in reverse. If he has 100% destroyers with no torpedo units, Tiger Sharks, the T1 subs, are actually incredibly mass effective, because the destroyers only have, like, what, 30 torpedo damage? And absolutely crappy torpedo defense. I mean, it's basically non-existent. The UEF destroyers die hilariously quickly to torpedoes. So I would go Tiger Shark spam when you see this. But yeah, don't build Coopers. Coopers in a Navy versus Navy fight, UEF to UEF, Coopers are beyond useless unless there is a massive amount of Tech 1 subs. When you're fighting destroyers, Coopers are just ludicrously useless. It's hilarious. Alright, what you do have going for you is good map control, but that Navy right there, that is going to end the game for you. Let's see, what you should be doing right here is putting scouts across to see what is in here, and you have a massive amount of Tech 1 and an ACU and Tech 2 engineers. If you had scouting information, you would have known that was there. It would be nice to go combat ACU and try to kill off the base, because he's relying entirely on naval control to win this game. You should not be building point defense. This is not a time for a fire base. You are pushing up on his core base. In this situation, what you need is power storage so that you can overcharge like you just did. But the double overcharge that you have with 9,000 storage is so nice. But you need gun on your ACU. You need scouts and or radar following you. And then you need to just front with your ACU and overcharge over and over and over and over again. Because those pillars in a tight choke point like this, they get grouped up. I'm going to go to Observer just so you can see this. Overcharges, you can kill 4 and 5 tanks at a time with overcharges. And then when he pulls his Navy in close like this, you can overcharge the friggin' Navy too. You take down destroyers in one hit. Your ACU is a force to be reckoned with, and he honestly is at a severe disadvantage here. I mean, he's throwing up, he has triads now, but he did not earlier. So with his strictly Navy build and ecoing as much as he did, you could have easily overrun him in the early stages. So from this replay, take, you had a decent start, but you need earlier air. On this map in particular, I'm strictly speaking of this map. You need earlier air. You need to scout. Scout, 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 scout. I cannot say that enough. There are so many opportunities that you missed where you had the units, you had the correct placement, you had everything going for you, but you did not have scouting information, and you just stopped. And that let Lucas take the game right out of your hands. I mean, you could have won this because Lucas was screwing up in some major areas. So scout, and then just be aggressive. Don't do stationary point defense like this. Don't do creeps. When you have a window of opportunity, put gun on your ACU and dive in head first, because you're on a timer when this happens. When the Navy starts taking out your base, I mean, he's down to look at the map. He's down to 5% map control. So all you have to do is kill that 5%, and his Navy's pretty much useless. You can pick it off as you will, and he is done for. Alrighty, that is my advice. Hopefully it helps you. Hopefully it helps everyone else who watched. And as always, send me your replays, guys. I love to watch them, even if I don't cast them. And I look forward to getting them from you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. That is going to wrap it up for me today. See you guys later.